Welcome to MathClicks.com's video on real numbers. First off, I'd like to address what is a real number as opposed to a non-real number. Well, a long time ago we realized there was some stuff we could not do with math. So instead of saying, oh well, mathematicians came up with numbers for those. We won't get into those today, those imaginary numbers, but we will talk about the real ones. Real numbers can be broken down into two main categories. That's irrational numbers and rational. What is an irrational number? Well, an irrational number is a number that goes on forever with no discernible pattern or repeatable block of numbers. You can't just put it down like a 4, right? It's like a 4.17, whatever you want, randomly forever. Rational numbers, however, can be written down, such as 4 and 3/4. In fact, this is a good example of the next two categories. Rational numbers themselves can be broken down into integers, which is a fancy word to say it's a whole number. 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. And rational numbers that are not integers. 3/4, which is a ratio, which can also be expressed as a decimal. This is a decimal like rational numbers, but it stops right here. And so that you could write it down and explain it to somebody and say, hey, this is definitely a number that you can look at and hold and love and cherish. Well, integers themselves aren't just 1, 2, 3, 4, but yes, the negative numbers and 0. And these go on forever in both directions, but all equally split apart by one whole number at a time. So these are the integers. Integers themselves can be broken down into, well, the easy numbers that we first learned about, and that's whole numbers. And negative numbers. Well, whole numbers can also be broken down into two more subcategories of 1, 2, 3, 4, forever, and 0. Why do we split the 0 off from these? Well, once again, some history comes into play. Before we had the number 0, everything was 1, 2, 3, 4. It makes sense. If you had a goat you wanted to sell at market, you had a number for how many goats you had. I have 1 goat, I have the number 1. I have 2 goats, I have the number 2. I have no goats, I have no number. But then somebody said, hey, what if you had 1 goat and then you don't, and you had that written down on paper? What do you do now? You just erase everything and there's no evidence that there ever was a goat in the first place? I believe there was a goat. So we use this number 0 to say there is no goat. So we've got real numbers, irrational numbers, numbers that go on forever and do not terminate. They do not terminate, they go on forever. Rational numbers, they make very much a sense to me. We have the ratios and the decimals, and integers, which are broken down to negative and positive whole numbers, including 0. And 1, 2, 3, 4 are called whole numbers, along with 0. And since it's natural to count goats with 1, 2, 3, 4, we call these the natural numbers. Yeah.